intangible things matter too. And are you happy? Do you enjoy work? Do the people you're working with enjoy what they're doing? I think those things are very, very important as well. And they're important at the highest level too, of sports. Winning can only last so long if you're not enjoying it. So you have to have the intangibles and the tangible things as well.
I've interacted with you a handful of times over the years, and I've also worked with a lot of people who have worked with you, and everyone has the best things to say. And so it's cool to hear that your goal is just put your all into it, and that's the outcome. It's led to athlete breakthroughs, it's led to athletes having resurgences, it's led to Olympic teams, it's led to marathon wins and growth at the highest level. To you, the question is, what does success mean? You've helped athletes achieve tangible success at the highest of levels, conventional success at the highest of levels. But I'm curious for you, what does success mean to Ben?
As it relates to coaching and athletes at the highest level, it's fairly easy, right? It means winning. It means running fast. It means getting the most out of yourself and performing on the biggest days, performing your best on the biggest days, which I think was our MO when I was with the team. And that was certainly something that we were all very proud of, performing at our best at the Olympic trials and at national championships and at the big city marathons and the world marathon majors. It's fairly easy to define success in sports, I think. I think if you're looking further than that, maybe you're looking for, I don't know, maybe you're trying to spin a narrative. The truth is in sports, it's about winning, right? And it's not that difficult. Now, in life, it's a little more difficult. And when you're not at the highest level, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to find what defines winning for you. In some ways, it's harder, I think, to coach at lower levels than it is at the highest level, or it's hard to coach a middle of the road high school team as opposed to a top level high school team, because you have to figure out ways to get excited about things that aren't finishing first. And finishing first is very exciting, but it's not possible for everyone. And so I think when I'm working with athletes like that, or, in an endeavor like owning a running store, or in an endeavor like owning an endurance event, you have to figure out ways to define success. And there are tangible things with the stores. Obviously, you're trying to, increase your sales every year. With the Marathon Project, we're trying to sell it out, and we're trying to create a wonderful event. Trying to think of more tangible things. Well, sponsor dollars are a tangible thing. The performances that the athletes produce are a tangible thing. But I think intangible things matter too. And are you happy? Do you enjoy work? Do the people you're working with enjoy what they're doing? I think those things are very, very important as well. And they're important at the highest level too, of sports. Winning can only last so long if you're not enjoying it. So you have to have the intangibles and the tangible things as well.
Totally. So the next endeavor you're on is the Marathon Project. You've teamed up with Josh Cox on that. How did that come about? I know that you guys had a race early on in the pandemic, and a couple of years later, here we are. It's back in action. So talk to me about that process. What is the Marathon Project, and how does that event help facilitate, as you're talking about winning or enabling athletes to have their own personal wins?
Yeah, all of it is a part of the Marathon Project, right? Well, if you go back to 2020, as painful as it may be, and we remember the timeline, we remember that in our world, the running world, the Olympic trials took place at the very end of February 2020. And they were a rousing success, from the performances to the hype to the media and the people on site in Atlanta, 250,000 people on the streets. It was the culmination of, I think, many years of the trials getting better and better and better. And that was the best trials I can remember. And I've been to a lot of them going back many, many years. But then the pandemic hit 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, in mid-March, everything shut down. And so it was a difficult time to go from that high to such a low of the Olympics getting pushed back and races being canceled. And it was just a difficult situation for the running world and, of course, the world at large, which is more important. But come the summertime, I was working with a few people to figure out just anything that we could do. I did work with Josh Cox, a good friend of mine and a very good athlete representative in the running world, on a race in St. George, Utah. We brought some athletes together from Colorado and Arizona, and we all drove to St. George, which is kind of a spot that everybody could drive to without too much trouble. And we ran a 5,000. And then we did a couple virtual things. And then in September, I took our athletes out to California and we ran on a track with nobody there. We ran an hour run and we also ran a 10,000, which was a very successful women's 10,000. And Kellen Taylor ran 31:07. And we showed it live on YouTube. So we were trying everything we could. But in between those two events, the July 5,000 or August, whatever it was, 5,000, and then I think it was in July, and then the September 10,000 that I talked about on the track, that's when we started talking about, well, could we do a road race? Track wasn't terribly difficult because all you had to do was get a track to agree, and then you could go there and video it and show it live on YouTube, and it wasn't that hard. But a road race was going to be a lot harder, obviously, and you need somewhat of a critical mass. So we ended up deciding that we wanted to try it, and we wanted to try a marathon and give all these marathoners who had worked so hard to get ready for the trials, but only 6 people make the Olympic team, 3 men and 3 women. So there was all these marathoners wanting to run a marathon. And so we started looking for venues in August or September. And I ended up finding a venue in Chandler, Arizona, Wild Horse Pass. It's a resort, Wild Horse Pass Resort. So, private roads, very, very protected, if you will. So we were able to make sure that we didn't have any fans, but it was a loop course. It was 6 4.26 mile loops plus a little start and finish stretch to get to 26.2. And it was flat as a pancake. And the weather is beautiful. We picked December to do it. So because we needed a little bit of time to set it up and we needed good weather. And so I know this is a bit of a long story, but it's important for context. And so we ended up accepting 50 men and 50 women into the race, 100 people total. And it was a total success. We ended up having it live on Runner Space. We ended up having a same day replay on NBCSports.com, or NBC Sports at that time. It was an over the air channel that has since morphed into Peacock. But so it was on live, then it was on tape delay same day, and the race itself was a huge hit. We had Sarah Hall run 2:20:32, second fastest American time ever for the females at that time. Marty Haher ran 2:08:59. 7 U.S. men broke 2:10. 12 women broke 2:30. Mexican athletes qualified for the Olympic Games. A Canadian athlete qualified for the Olympic Games. It was just a total hit. So after it was over, it was meant to be a one-off, but we always thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could bring it back somehow? But my thing was always, okay, we could do that, but it would be a full-time job. We'd have to go all in because you couldn't do it like it would need to be done part-time. And Josh kept the domain name just in case. And it wasn't just me and Josh, by the way. It was me and Josh, and it was myself and Josh and my friend Matt Helbig, who had owned the stores with me in St. Louis, who owns a fantastic race management company called Big River Race Management. They do races all over the country. And so we were really the 3 that put it on. And then we had a team of volunteers. So when I thought about doing it again this summer more seriously, I called Josh, he was in. I called Matt, he was in. And I called my friend Katie Sutton, who's the president of the Festival of Miles Foundation in St. Louis, which puts on the annual Hoka Festival of Miles track meet, which is a awesome all-star high school distance meet, plus a couple pro races as well. And she was on our team in 2020 as well on the volunteer side. And so that became our ownership group, myself, Josh, Matt, and Katie. And we just got to work in August and started banging away at it. And by December, we were ready to announce it. And we did that on December 18th, 2024. And the relaunch event will be December 2025. So that is my, I don't know how long that took. That is my 2 to 5 minute speech about what the Marathon Project was in 2020 and then how we got to here. And the big thing is that it's going to be much more than just a pro race. I'll hand it to you in a second. But the big thing is that it's going to be an entire weekend of racing with a 5K for all ages and abilities to kick off the weekend on Saturday morning. And then Saturday at 8:40 a.m., right after the 5K finishes, will be the Gold Wave Marathon. Same concept as before, but this will be for amateurs. And so anybody can sign up. We'll take the top 500 men, the top 500 women, so 1,000 people on this awesome flat, fast course. We're going to pay for pacers to come in. We're going to have tons of pacers. It is going to be your opportunity to run as fast as possible. And then the weekend will culminate with a pro race on Sunday, same concept, 200 people, 100 men, 100 women, really, really fast course, prize purse, the whole deal. And we're going to try to run the deepest, fastest marathon in America.